special Trimal Cast of the Neil Haley Show, the Storehouse Media Group podcast, and Criminally Good. And our hosts are Sherrie Price Clarke and Jennifer Clark Eskew. Guys, updates. You're telling me how many episodes we've done so far. So I'm going to throw it over to Jennifer first. I've been just sitting here and watching this develop. How many we've done?
We are at 18 guests so far, and we launched July 7th. So I feel like we're doing great at this point with only seven Tuesdays in there.
No doubt. I mean, 18 guests. That's crazy, Sherrie. That we're already rolling.
We are rolling and rocking and rolling. And yes, I mean, we've had some phenomenal guests. I mean, these are guests that I'm just honored and privileged that we were able to talk to. And you know what our whole premise of this show is to talk to the creators of podcast, of authors of book, of films, and and kind of get behind this story and love I just love to listen to them tell their stories. I mean, there's a story or two or five or 10 that sticks with you when you're in law enforcement or you do something in true crime that, just sticks with you and you do.
Okay, Jennifer, go back. We'll keep talking.
Yeah. Well, everything happens, and I got to tell you, with the listening to these people that are telling their stories to us, it's been great because they are the true crime creators. They're writing the books, they are doing the scripts, they are making the films, they are putting out the podcast, they are interviewing victims. And then we've also had a victim advocate on already, and they did wondrous work. So, we started out with Carlos Rodriguez. Los is what he gets called. And he was telling us about his book, The Ugly Underneath. But we got to learn a whole lot about Los and his background in dealing with the child sex abuse crimes and helping those victims, and his outreach and his continued work, even though he's retired from law enforcement, but what he's doing and how he's put his book out there so people can know what he experienced and went through in this process, what it put his family through um, in dealing with these things, because you're having to try to find where do you have the home life balance and also going out and fighting this kind of crime and what it does to you mentally. But our guest list has been great. We were just talking about Los, and it's been great having him as a guest and as our starting guest.
He was a great first guest. I
Yes, he
loved
is.
having him. He's just such a nice guy, who's seen a lot, who's done a lot in his career, and to just be a nice guy. I just he's a nice guy.
He truly is. You know, next guest we had on, it came out, Matt Cox. Now, Matt Cox has got a huge YouTube following. He readily admits, hey, I got caught. I did my time, and he did. He did almost 13 years federal prison time. Uh, he's been able to come back from that, get out, and start interviewing people on his podcast. Um, and he's talking to people who have been criminals, who have been in law enforcement, who've been kind of caught in between. He's written several true crime books based on not only his life in crime and getting out of it, as well as other people that he served prison time with. He worked for them. In fact, that's how he kind of got through prison, was writing and doing. Um, but he's been able to make that comeback for himself. So he was an interesting guest. And then one of my favorite people, because it's something so pleasant about the gentleman, is Jason Blair.
Oh,
Um, he's a podcaster with the Silver Linings Handbook, but he was a New York Times writer for the longest time period, and he's doing research on a true crime case right now out in the Montana area. Of course, he also has his podcast out there, and I got to tell you, Jason's just what a nice guy.
he is. He's just another nice guy, smart and
Super
just
smart. Yeah.
calm, cool, collected.
Yeah, you can
You
tell
know,
why he was a writer, because that he is smooth. He just is. And listening to him, on his podcast, I do listen to him. I catch him on Instagram. But the like that Then we had folks from your neck of the woods, Sherrie. I mean, we had the Gold Shields guys.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. That was great.
When you're bringing the NYPD on, you're doing pretty good. When you're bringing the Gold Shield NYPD guys on, you're knocking it out of the ballpark as far as I'm concerned. And I got to tell you, Tom and Dan, wow. And I'm listening to their podcast. I'm catching them on my way to work, on my way home from work. And I'm just like, geez, these guys, they've really found some great guests. It's and they're sharp. They understand the whole law enforcement career, especially how it impacts New York City, but more than that, global.
Yeah. Yeah. Two retired detectives from
Yeah.
the NYPD.
Yeah. And
Tom Smith and Dan Murphy.
yes. And then we got and I just finished his book. I've been working on it because I actually read about 2 to 3 books at the same time, and it just really depends on what's going on in my world. Because I am working on my second book, but at the same time, trying to read that many books, trying to catch a few podcast episodes. It's it's a lot going on, and with that, I just finished Troy Hillman's book, Chasing Down the Zombie Hunter. He worked cold case squad there in Phoenix with homicides, and it was like a 20-year plus unsolved, uh, brutal, incredibly savage serial killer killings, 2 of them back in the early 90s before he ever got in law enforcement, before he ever became a CPA, and then got into law enforcement. And with that, he ran this cold case squad, and it took him a few years, but they did catch the zombie hunter, who was a kind of a cosplaying dress up guy there in the Phoenix area. And, with his vehicle for the zombie hunter, and people knew him. He was a character, a character of characters. And all of a sudden, they're doing this criminal investigation. And so that book, I highly recommend it. Chasing Down the Zombie Hunter. It's good.
Yeah, Troy's great.
Yeah.
He, I love the fact he comes into this from a corporate world where he was a CPA. Like, you have to be really smart to be a CPA.
Yes. Yeah.
And your mind thinks different. You're so methodical.
Yes.
And he brought that. And I would think, in doing those code cases, that puzzle piece and, methodical, reconciling bank statements mentality got in there and really helped it along. And
Yeah.
him and I are working on a book together, so that more of that to come.
Yeah, when you were telling me just a little while ago, I'm just like, oh my goodness, that's creative. I do like that. So I can't wait to catch that second one. That's going to be interesting. And this time, I would like Troy to read it. I'm just going to throw that out there right now as my suggestion. Troy, read that book for us, please. And I got to tell you, we get a great guest out of Charleston, South Carolina, which, for those of you who don't know, I live down in southern Georgia, down in the islands, Golden Isles, and Sherrie lives up in the South Carolina area. And halfway in between us is Wade Williamson, uh, another unbelievable guy. I mean, and so just blatantly honest as to what happened to him. I mean, he defends his own life, ends up having to shoot and kill someone before he gets completely choked unconscious and dead by someone who did have a long history of mental illness, PTSD effects. A veteran, military veteran, that wasn't probably getting all of the help he needed. And it was a situation that went bad very quickly, that started out being a good situation, and a conversational situation that just turned crazy in a moment. And so Wade spent 5 years trying to avoid being prosecuted and going to prison for defending his own life. And he's got a great podcast out there. So, you want to catch Wade Williamson, he's a terrific guy to listen to.
Crime and Entertainment.
Yes, Crime and Entertainment. Yes.
Yeah.
But they call him it was it Hollywood Wade, isn't it?
Hollywood Wade.
Wade,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, he had the story that
Yeah.
all of us just was mesmerized. We just
Yeah.
sat there fixated to what he was saying.
Yeah.
And it was this is the kind of story that could happen to anyone. And the fact it happened, it was dragged on like that, was an eye opener,
Yeah.
So great story Wade
Yeah.
has.
And every once in a while, we do hear a story of someone who, in the process of defending their life or the lives of others, you end up hearing about what they go through, but you don't really get that whole thing. It kind of just comes up, in a news spurt, and it just kind of disappears or whatever. Daniel Penny is about the only one that I can recall that was able to, they kept it in the news of what was going on in New York City until that was finally dropped. But he went through an awful lot there. And so Wade's case, he's not that far from either one of us, but his case just kind of like disappeared out of the news. And yet he was still out there fighting and doing. Then somebody that as I call it, I wooed, because I followed him on LinkedIn. I kept up with what he was doing. I watched his docu movies on or copumentaries, as one of our other guests gave us up thing, but watched his stuff on Tubi TV and on Prime. Mitch Credle, a retired DC homicide cop and cold case worker who worked with a homicide investigator friend of mine, and so we just kind of connected. I was able to get in touch with him. Mitch agreed to come on and be with us because I know he's very busy. He's filming. Instead, he has written a couple of books, but instead of actually writing his true crime memoirs from his days on the streets in DC, which were a lot of years, I mean, a lot, he has put them to film. And he got into film and studying and how to do this. And he got the scripts written up, and he got out and he's produced these documentaries. So you can catch him on Tubi with 12 Years in Hell. And I remember those years because of being in Virginia. We were right outside of DC. We heard the news. You knew how bad the crack and the gangs and the guns and the homicides were. But in that 12 years, they had 4,600 homicides. 4,600 in 12 years. He was a part of working those 4,600 and right there with the other homicide guys working. He produces that movie 12 Years in Hell on Tubi. Then he has a detective story, and that is about two very traumatic, hard criminal homicide cases that he worked in DC. Multiple homicides in each one of those cases that he goes over and goes back, and he talks to the people who lived through that and were involved in that. He even does something different in the middle of that. He lets you know. He comes on the screen as he's talking to you to let you know the next portion is going to be graphic pictures from the real scenes, so that people who can't really handle that part of it can speed forward or get through that. And then he's got Informant out on Prime still right now, and that is based on his early days of getting into law enforcement with the Metro PD. So I tell you to catch Informant too. But Mitch is great. And then right after that, Doug Carey. And you found Doug for us there, Sherrie.
Yeah, he was a
Yeah.
crime con
Yes.
and an author, but not just an author, a journalist, but an attorney, but not
Yes.
just a journalist. I
Enough.
mean, this guy would like lay in the grave just to try to figure out what happened. So just a wealth of information on cases that he does cover.
Yeah, I mean, here's a guy. He's basically a corporate attorney, is the way to put it. And then when he's not a corporate attorney, which has taken up an awful lot of hours of his time out there in California, he's an investigative journalist. Like,
I know.
And he's good at it. And he writes the true crime books from it, but he also writes the investigative reports that get published in a variety of newspapers. Yeah. And I think it was great when you suggested to him he needed to be a podcaster, because he does. He's got, it's amazing what he's doing, particularly when you actually get in the grave, or it's a shallow grave that someone dug out for someone, and that person, he helped greatly in getting that case a lot of attention and getting that person's body found. But then going back and doing that to give that perspective of where that was. And so yeah, he's definitely a wild one there. You remember Donna Roman here just a few weeks ago? She lived a huge career in New Jersey.
Law enforcement,
Yep.
domestic violence.
Yep. Battered Blue is coming out, and she has Battered Blue as a podcast right now up in the Jersey, New York area, the city area. Um, she's worked on several other things. Also a filmmaker. She got finished with her 30 years in law enforcement there in the New Jersey area and got into making films as well. She
And winning
definitely
awards.
focuses.
She won
Yes,
awards for them.
winning a lot of awards for them. And she's gotten into focusing on the victims, particularly the domestic violence victims. She wrote her book, Battered Blue, in honor of her mother, because her mother wanted her story told from her deathbed. She told that to her daughter. But the thing being was, Donna was a victim of domestic violence by her father, who was a constable, a law enforcement officer there in Jersey. But in addition, she saw her mother go through 37 years of abuse. She saw that, and she was able to tell that story. And then she could tell her story as well in Battered Blue of her being that same victim and then going out on the streets and helping people who were domestic violence victims. So she gave us that perspective. And that's a different thing, because I don't know how you could be a victim and having known victims and to step into a world where you were going to encounter those victims and be able to help them. And people did not know around her what she'd been through, had no idea. All they knew is that she was very, very good at working with the victims.
Well, she understands the victims.
Yeah.
And I mean, she totally understands what's going on in their heads and their hearts and everything. So, you know, who better than a survivor of the whatever it is, in this case, domestic violence.
Yep. I'll tell you, one of the guests that I'll never get over, Ethan Almighty, because he slept through our show. Ethan Almighty is a very abused dog who found himself rescued when he was at the brink of death. And he got lucky that the people who came into his life in the last moments were able to get him to a vet and get him back on his feet. And it took a lot. It was not a overnight or, hey, just stitch him up. There was a lot going on to save this dog. And in saving that dog, this dog met a volunteer at the shelter, a guy named Jeff Callaway. And he names him Ethan, and eventually it's Ethan Almighty is how it comes out. And Jeff and the people at the shelter and the people with the veterinary and all the folks over there in Kentucky in looking after Ethan and all these other dogs and cats and many other animals that get abused, they started looking at the laws there in Kentucky of what do we do to get these things changed? How do we get these laws to protect them? And as he said, we're animal welfare rights, not animal rights group thing. They're not protesting against meat or anything of that nature. This is animal welfare.
Cruelty. Yeah, they're all about
cruelty to these animals, to these pets, that these people who abuse their pets, that they harm and kill and then they might dump them, there's no comeback, there's no recourse, there was no felony and charge involved in that. You could barely get a misdemeanor done to anybody. Just, it was like, wait a minute, you look what you did to this poor dog, this poor cat, this poor rabbit, whatever that you might have, a poor horse. You didn't do anything to help them, you abused them, and look what's happened. And they got the laws changed, and it wasn't easy.
They even got a movie coming out.
They've got a movie coming out
called Ethan on My. I think it's got Kelsey Grammer in it.
Yes.
And yeah, So it's in production, and they even have another dog playing Ethan.
It's true. Yeah, another dog
We'll
playing
have to
Ethan.
have
That's
him
it.
come on. Maybe
Yeah,
he'll be awake
maybe
during
he'll
our
stay
show.
awake for us. Yeah, I know. Is it? But I get it. Ethan's older. He's laid back. He's retired. He's like he doesn't need all that. But they are working on getting some federal laws changed too. And Ethan is going and doing. And shame on any politician who thinks that they have just brought the puppy out for any kind of thing, because they've been through that. They've had people make nasty remarks, and it's like, no, this is a survivor over here, and this is a reminder. And this dog is representing all the dogs that can't be here, and all the cats that can't be here, and all the other animals that have gotten abused, and they don't get that second chance like Ethan did. So that was a great guest. We had Eric Immesberger join us for a two-parter, and I'll say it. Eric is from my old agency of ATF. We did not know each other on the job, but Eric has his own podcast, the Debrief. But at the same time, Eric is out there doing speaking, motivational, and just helping people out with understanding how to protect themselves in certain situations and to be more aware, be more alert. Um, but Eric came on and he shared his 9/11 story, being a New York City ATF agent, and that day of what was happening, leaving home, and just everything that took place for him, and then the next 6 months of what they were doing. But then he came back on and talked to us even more about just more things that he's been involved with. And so appreciate Eric getting out there and talking to us on those
Yeah.
events.
He
Yeah.
was awesome.
Yeah.
He does bring he's a very serious guy, but he's
Mm.
brings a sense of humor. We
Yes,
were
he
in
does.
Brooklyn at the same time. I didn't know him at that time either, but we were working in
Yeah.
Brooklyn at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Brooklyn DA's office. So he's got a very long background in law enforcement, I guess 30 years or better. But in addition to that, we had another cop, a retired Milwaukee sergeant of 25 years with the. He was a real street cop, straight up 25 years on the street, either as a uniformed officer or a uniformed sergeant working with his folks. And he did a lot. Patrick O'Donnell. And if you haven't heard of Patrick O'Donnell, he's got 11 books that I know of out there. Some true crime, some more police procedural true crime, or a few fictional crime as well, because I know The Good Collar is one of his out there that I like a lot. But Patrick O'Donnell started the Cops and Writers podcast. It's how I met Patrick about 4 years ago when I was working on writing my book. And Cops and Writers has 8,600 members on the Facebook group, and it's a very active daily group. If you are a writer of any type of crime book, crime fiction, true crime, maybe you're writing a romance, but it's going to have a little somebody goes to jail thing, in there. Do you a DUI stop or a traffic ticket for something, and you want to get the exact facts, get it exactly right? Reach out to the Cops and Writers, and there are people on there that will be glad to help you out with what you've got. He's got members from Australia, from Canada, from the UK. I see him on there all the time. I've chatted with a few of them. It's really nice to talk to a cop that's in another place. Um, and we'll get to that in a moment. But that's a good episode. When you talk to Patrick, or you catch his podcast, or you catch his Facebook group, uh, you get a lot of information, and you also get a lot of humor, an awful lot of humor.
Yeah. Yeah. He's just real,
Yes, he is.
He had some interesting stories to share.
Yes, he does. He's definitely he's an eye opener. When you listen, you're going, "Oh my goodness!" and and that's putting it nicely, because it's like, "Oh, geez," but it's real. It is the real streets of Milwaukee, and you're thinking, "Yeah, it's a little bit more than just the Brew City." And that is a play, because he's got the Brew City Blues as a series of his books. Um, Pushing Up Lilies, Julie Mattson. Yeah, you saw her at CrimeCon. I don't know. I think they froze
She's
her.
frozen again.
Yeah. But
Okay.
yes, but that is how I met Julie Mattson, or Pushing Up Lilies. That's how I found out about her podcast there. She's down in Texas broadcasting out. But Julie Mattson was at CrimeCon, And Sherrie goes over and meets her, comes back and starts showing me all the stuff that she's got from all the different people that she's met at Crime Con, while I'm sitting at the booth going, oh, I want to get out and meet people. And she ends up meeting Julie Mattson this way. And Julie's just, what a lovely lady. And she's got a lot of things going on because she has her own business there that she has in Texas as well. Sherrie, you talked to Julie Mattson quite a bit.
Yeah, she was a fascinating person, but I love the way she talked about how when she went to her crime scene, she was all dressed up.
Yes.
I
Well,
could see that.
she's the nurse investigator, folks. I don't think I mentioned that.
She's a death investigator.
She is a death investigator, a forensic nurse. What a background when you think on it, because she has it's a spa type products now down that in Texas is what she's doing out of Denton, Texas. But at the same time, she's still doing her podcast shows with the Pushing Up Lilies, which is a play on daisies and lilies because of the death investigations. But there's a whole unique experience when you're talking to somebody about death investigations and what takes place and how her work, in the nursing field, and then doing that. And that's a growing field. I'm starting to meet more people who have branched out into studying the death investigation part of that and the medico-legal aspects of that. So you meet people that way. So that was our Julie Mattson. And like I said, that next week we got Eric to come back. But then I mentioned about liking the people from other countries. So from Canada, we were joined by Jen Hyland. So Jen Hyland had a very lengthy career in Canadian law enforcement. She was even a Royal Canadian Mounted Police. She did that for, I think, 19 years. She also ran a police department there in Canada, in the small rural area. She's over in the western part of Canada. So just fascinating to hear from somebody else who went through similar things that Sherrie and I did in our earlier career and did it through the Canadian end of things. But she is got her book out, and then she's also looking she's talking about maybe doing a podcast, I think, or maybe she's getting that started, but we definitely want to bring her back and get her talking more about that.
She was super impressive what she accomplished, and you just kind of get the idea that she just did it. It was wasn't even on her bucket list to get in the law enforcement. It was kind of an accidentally happening, and then she moved her way up all the way to the top to the assistant constable there, and that it was just so impressive in what she accomplished. But I really enjoyed having her on the show.
Well, I mean, I think that she was going to be doing some speaking and stuff and all. What got me, I think, is she picked a really good name for her book, Tightrope. Tightrope. And there is an awful lot of balancing. There is balancing of your life, your family, your everything, the job, working with the people. And then as she has to progress and she progresses in her career, there's that balancing of the added responsibility of supervising other people and keeping that balance, dealing with the community and the people and what they're expecting, working the crime cases as well. She did bring up one of the true crime cases there that's well known out of Canada, the killer that was the pig farmer in Canada that killed over 50 people and used his pig farm to get rid of the bodies. So having Jen Hyland on and talking about what she was doing, I thought that was fantastic too. I enjoyed that, and hearing another female talk about law enforcement, but also from another country. There's Casey Fleming, the Red Tsunami book that he just got out. But Casey is, the level of crime that he's talking about is on an international level. It's global without a doubt, and it's all about all of the things that are being stolen from our country and other countries by China, but how it's being used against us and how many billions and billions and hundreds of billions of dollars are being stolen that way. And it's a little of everything.
And Casey was so just flat out interesting, and he was I found so many things he said enlightening as well as confirmation. And you know what grabbed the attention? Because everybody's afraid we're going to get into World War III, but we're already there.
And he's right. Well, he's
And he
talking about
went
all the things that are
into
being stolen, though. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
the
yeah.
more
He was a great
technology that
guest.
we lose, that more
Yeah.
technology we lose, that is criminal. And it is happening to us as Americans, but it's happening to countries around the world. And when you lose it to another country who then turns around and charges you for it and sells your product, sells what you worked hard for to develop and what people here have done, you're losing the intel, you're losing the technology. Um, you're losing out on so much, and you don't realize how that's going to impact you down the road. And the next thing you know, it's just invaded you. It's taken over, and you don't have any choice but to rely on it. There is no other resource for it, and now it's going to gouge you because you don't have it. They have it, and it, it's espionage. It's everything. I mean, it's crime at the highest level that we don't really think about. Maybe
that we don't know can't even
right.
exist.
Right. So the Red Tsunami is his book on that. Our next gentleman, if only he would have brought wine to the show, that would have topped it out for us right there. Yeah. So another friend of yours that you got to talk to at Crime Con, and I heard about it, heard about. You got the T-shirt, and I'm sitting there going, "You didn't bring me a glass of wine."
I know. What was I thinking?
And I know I like bourbon, but I would have given the wine a run for it there. John Matthews, True Crime and Wine. What a delightful fella. And he's got this really nifty podcast, and you feel like you just want to reach through the screen and go ahead and get you a glass of his wine because he has a winery. And you're thinking, what's his background? 40 years in the law enforcement world. Caught himself a serial killer down there in Dallas, Texas area, goes out and does true crime and wine talking events, travels all over. I think he said they're doing a nationwide tour again this coming year, getting ready to start getting out and doing it. So if you're out there and you hear about John Matthews or True Crime and Wine, and he's coming to your area, lock into those tickets. Get those tickets right away.
Sarah Wines.
Sarah Wines. Yeah.
And he touts that he's the only winemaker that's called a serial killer. So I'm probably apt to believe him on that.
I think I got to believe it because, like I said, he started out with a few vines at the house. I guess it was something to give him a little.
And he had to be a popular growing up making wine.
Yeah, he was, and it's a family thing. It's it's generational family thing. But he gets his vines. It gives him that thing, and I feel like, okay, I get it. I had horses and things to keep me busy when I wasn't working and to take your mind off work. But then somehow or another, he tells his wife he wants to grow a few more, and I guess he got, what do you say, 500 more on the truck. It's going a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger to the point that he's really doing wine. And I mean, you're not going to find it at Walmart, but he does have his own wine there, and he is doing that down in south of Dallas, so just opposite of our other lady. But I enjoyed John because it was like he's so laid back about it. But you do 40 years in this law enforcement world.
In Dallas.
In the Dallas area.
Yeah.
So that's the guest we've been able to have on our show. It's a variety, and Criminally Good with Sherrie and Jen. Our purpose was and is to give an audience to the creators of true crime. We want the authors, the filmmakers, the podcasters, the victim advocates. We want them to come on, be with us for 30 minutes and talk to people about what their product is, what their creation is, but also what their researching is, what their background is, what they're planning next. I mean, because we know Troy got something great coming from Troy Hillman, but I know that the others have got great things coming too. We'd love for our audience to follow us and also look at them and maybe find one of them that you like and follow them and keep up with them as well. We've got some extra special guests coming up, Sherrie. I know you do our scheduling, so you want to give us a taste of who's coming?
Well, Jason Usry,
Yes.
and top of the list. Filmmaker, again, another crime con person, but he's a film director, script writer, editor, all of that. But he's fun. You know,
Yeah.
we had fun with him.
Yeah.
Santa or something. He was wearing a
Yeah.
Santa hat.
Yeah, well, he's got the Santa maybe.
Yeah, Santa maybe. That's what it is. The
Maybe a
podcast.
serial killer. Maybe
Yeah.
a serial killer, and he's a twist of a podcast
Yeah.
that features true crime people on the podcast as voiceover. So yeah,
Wayne Miller of Burn, Boston Burn.
yeah. Oh, he's got the movie coming. The book is there, and the movie is coming. I mean, he's an executive producer now, and I knew Wayne when he wasn't.
Yeah. You knew him when, right?
I knew him when, and so I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to Wayne. He's golfing today with his 97-year-old dad. Isn't that cool? I think so. Him and his 97-year-old dad are out there on the golf course hitting a few, and you gotta admire that. That's pretty dang cool.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
yeah,
97 years old. Wow.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
a lot. But
yeah,
kudos to his dad.
yeah.
97
Very,
playing
very
golf.
much.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think we've got Bob Luckett.
Bob
He's
Luckett, Kevin,
yeah,
Kenneth Strange,
Kenneth Strange. Yep, definitely coming out.
Pete Fortelli.
Yep, Pete Fortelli. You're naming off some great authors here off the true crime level, and so I know these people are coming out for us. We've still got Cheryl Mack McCollum. She is going to join us. We just got to get our scheduling down because she's super busy out there with well, between podcasting and a lot of events that she's doing because her new book is out there. Swans Don't Swim in the Sewer. So she's everywhere. Every time I turn on anything, there she is, and she's in some other state, some other place, some other thing that she's got going on. I don't know that she's sleeping. She's just running, running, running. Uh, I'm working on a few other people too, because I've been reaching out and getting in contact with them, but I don't want to name them yet until they absolutely commit to me. Uh, but I did find a famous author the other day, a very famous true crime author, and so hey, I took my swing there. I'm gonna see if we can't coax him on.
Yeah. Love
Yeah,
to talk to
yeah,
him.
yeah. It would be pretty fascinating because he is probably, I'd say right now he's probably the number one or number two true crime published author going right now. He's in the top. There's no
Mm.
doubt. And I don't know how he is a prolific writer and a researcher. That I do know because he is constantly out in the field researching and writing, and he produces an awful lot of books. And they're good. I've read several of them, so and I can understand why he's up there in the top. But we're working on it. I'm working on it,
Yeah.
folks.
We had Melissa Sandberg, Dog with a Bone.
That is
She was
true.
she was a riot.
And
She was a spicy guest.
oh, I like Dog with the Bone too. And you and her are talking so because there is a cold case that you have mentioned to her and she has an interest in. So who knows? We might hit a home run all the way around on that one there because yeah, Melissa's great. And I think it was fantastic that she came out and was able to tell us a little bit about her background. And she's another one that just took it up and just started doing it. And with a couple of years as a little podcasting, she started traveling to these places to get the background on the true crime, and she's making a difference. People are getting
Yeah.
prosecuted.
Oh yeah, she is. It's, code cases that are not getting any attention, and she's stepping up and she's bringing attention to them.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
um yeah, I'm gonna verify something before I say it here because it just popped up. Yeah, it just came up. It came across. I thought I'd block these things off my stuff, but um it looks like Dolly Parton has passed away,
Oh,
and
wow.
she was 80. um
Mm.
Oh,
she had announced several months back that she was battling cancer, and everything. So just and it's
Mm.
coming across in all the news feeds right now. So
wow.
Okay.
I really hate that because it's
Yeah.
somebody that we all kind of grew up with and
Yeah.
listened to. Yeah, that's a shocker. That's
Mhm.
heartbreaking.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so we've gone over everything. So we've talked that the release, you can check these out live streaming or on syndication already with me, but the podcast will release on October 1st. We'll give you more updates, a lot of things coming, and really appreciate it. Go to storehousemediagroup.com for all things publishing and media, and go check out Jennifer Clarke Eskew and her book. Appreciate it, guys.
Thank
That
you.
was the special Trammel Cats, the Neil Haley Show Storehouse Media